Most people have no idea how close they are to starving. Not in some abstract third world documentary kind of way. Right now, today, in your city, in your neighborhood, the grocery store you walked into yesterday is operating on roughly 72 hours of inventory. 3 days. That's the entire buffer between you and empty shelves. And here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. It doesn't take a war, a pandemic, or a nuclear event to drain that buffer. It takes one severe weather forecast, one viral social media post, one trucking strike. That's all. Because the modern grocery supply chain isn't built for resilience, it's built for speed. It's a just-in-time system, which sounds efficient until you realize just-in-time is another way of saying no margin for error ever. So let's walk through exactly what happens, not in vague collapse movie terms, hour by hour. Because when you understand the real mechanics of how this unravels, you stop seeing it as a distant possibility and start seeing it for what it is, a system that requires everything to go right, every single day, forever. And we'll get to exactly what you should have in your kitchen before any of this touches you. But the people who already have it, they're watching from home while everyone else is in line at 2 in the morning fighting over the last case of water. The clock starts the moment something triggers mass purchasing behavior. A Category 4 hurricane projected to make landfall in 3 days. A government announcement. A headline. It doesn't matter what the trigger is. What matters is the psychology it activates, because that psychology is more dangerous than the actual event. Hour 1. Nothing looks wrong yet. The store is completely normal. Lights on, employees stocking shelves on the regular rotation, the guy in produce still misting the lettuce like it's a Tuesday. But something invisible is already moving through the nervous system of the supply chain. Phones are ringing, store managers are reporting inventory numbers upward, distribution coordinators are watching order volumes climb 20–30% above baseline. And in kitchens across the city, millions of ordinary people are having a quiet conversation. Should we grab a few things just in case? That phrase, just in case, is the most destructive phrase in emergency preparedness. Because when 10 million people decide to grab a few things just in case on the same afternoon, you don't have a shopping surge, you have a localized economic disaster. And it starts before a single shelf is empty. The reason it moves so fast comes down to something called the bullwhip effect. A 5% increase at the retail level looks like a 30% spike to the distribution warehouse. The warehouse panics and overorders. The manufacturer overproduces. The retailer runs out and reorders at emergency prices. Everyone is reacting to everyone else's reaction, not to actual need. The whole cascade ignites in hour 1. The shelves won't show it yet, but the supply chain already feels it. Hour 2. The prepared ones arrive first. These are not panicking people. They've been through this before, or they simply pay attention. They move fast, they already have a list, and they're buying 4 weeks of staples: rice, beans, canned goods, cooking oil, bottled water. They're in and out before chaos starts. And here's what almost nobody outside this group understands. The foods that disappear first are almost never the most useful ones. Bottled water vanishes before anyone remembers they could fill their bathtub. Bread sells out before anyone reaches for flour. Fresh meat goes before anyone looks at lentils, which store for 25 years in a sealed container and deliver more protein per dollar than almost anything else in that building. The psychology of a panic buy is not rational. It's comfort-seeking. People aren't building a survival cache. They're trying to recreate their normal kitchen in a frightening situation. That's why someone walks out with 10 loaves of bread that will go stale in 5 days instead of a 20-pound bag of rice that could feed a family for weeks. Be honest, if you walked in right now and saw the water aisle looking patchy, would you still tell yourself it's probably fine? Hour 3. The machine starts straining. The store manager has submitted an emergency restock request. What she doesn't know is that every store in a 300-mile radius submitted the exact same request within the same 30 minutes. The distribution center is fielding 40 times its normal order volume. Drivers are being called in early, warehouse pickers are running double speed assembling pallets that should have taken 8 hours. Inside the store, the first visible gaps appear. Not gaping holes, just spots. The water section thins, bread develops gaps, toilet paper looks patchy. And those gaps do something crucial to every shopper who sees them. They accelerate the panic. An empty shelf is a social signal. It tells you that other people have already decided this is serious. It removes the psychological cost of being one of those people. Suddenly, everyone is stocking up because the shelf told them to. Hour 4, the second wave, and it's uglier. These people saw a social media post, got a text from a cousin, drove by and noticed the parking lot. They are not shopping with a list. They are shopping with anxiety. Their carts are chaotic. Bulk items they don't need, duplicates of things they already have, bizarre choices that make zero survival sense. Checkout lines back up, staff get pulled from stocking to run registers, the produce section gets stripped by people who won't be able to use it before it rots, but it looks substantial and fresh, so into the cart it goes. You walk in at hour 4. What do you grab first? Most people freeze, look at what's left, and start filling their cart based on what other people are reaching for. That's not shopping, that's group panic with a handle. Here's a logistics fact almost no one outside the industry knows. Restocking during an active surge is essentially impossible. Trucks can't unload when the dock is in emergency mode. Pallets can't move through aisles packed with panicking customers. The backroom inventory, usually 1 to 2 days of high turnover items, at most, drains faster than it can reach the floor. The store is now a closed system. What's on the shelf is all there is. Hour 6. The mask comes off. The first visible gaps have become entire sections. Security is more visible. A manager walks the floor with a walkie-talkie and the particular expression of someone counting how many hours she has left in the shift. A third wave is forming in the parking lot. People coming off work, people who heard about the lines and waited, and the group researchers call the uncertain. No plan, no list, no idea what they actually need. They buy based purely on what they see other people reaching for. They'll walk past full shelves of dried lentils and cooking oil, genuinely useful survival food, and panic buy whatever looks scarce, simply because scarcity signals importance. This is also when, if the trigger is serious enough, rationing starts. 2 cases of water per customer, 1 bag of rice, limits on formula. And here's why rationing backfires in the short term. It doesn't reduce demand, it redirects it. The person who wanted 3 weeks of supplies now sends 3 family members on 3 separate trips. They drive to stores in adjacent zip codes. They call relatives across town. The crisis feeling doesn't shrink, it spreads geographically. The system starts leaking at every joint simultaneously, and the distribution network, which was already straining, now has to serve 4 stores instead of 1 for the same household. Hour 8. What you actually need and what nobody's grabbing. By this point, the obvious supplies are largely gone, but there's a category of food sitting untouched in almost every store during a panic buy. Cooking oil. 1 liter of vegetable oil contains nearly 8,000 calories, requires no refrigeration, stores for over a year, and makes everything else more calorie-dense when fuel and food become limited. Salt. Not folklore. Documented emergency medicine. Sodium depletion under physical or psychological stress causes cognitive impairment and muscle cramping. And honey. Sealed indefinitely, antimicrobial properties documented going back thousands of years, dense calories, and this part matters more than people expect. It tastes good. That last point isn't trivial. Studies of populations under prolonged food stress consistently show that the emotional impact of eating something that feels like a comfort significantly affects decision-making quality and group cohesion. Hour 10. The cascade takes over. The store has become a social thermometer. The lines, the gaps, the staff behavior, all of it is being read as data about how bad this really is. And here's the feedback loop that nobody talks about. The more chaotic the store looks, the more people believe the situation is dire, which makes them shop more aggressively, which makes the store look more chaotic. Researchers call this an information cascade. People stop trusting their own judgment and start using other people's behavior as their primary information source. Once it starts in a closed environment, it doesn't reverse without something that visibly breaks the signal. A clear official statement, restocking trucks rolling up front, something concrete. Without that, the cascade feeds itself. Hour 12. Night shift reality hits. Night staff are exhausted. Some have called out, dealing with their own families, or scared, or both. Managers are making real-time decisions about which sections to prioritize from whatever's left and back. Fresh produce and bakery are largely gone. The meat case is running on what was in the cooler. Here's what almost everyone misses during a panic buy: the frozen food section. People avoid it, maybe because opening glass doors feels like friction, maybe because frozen food doesn't read as emergency supply. But a pound of frozen chicken in a sealed bag, kept at temperature, will outlast a storm. Frozen vegetables represent more agricultural labor and nutritional density than 10 loaves of bread going stale in someone's pantry. The distribution center at this point is hitting hard physical limits. Driver hours of service regulations legally cap how long a commercial driver can operate without rest. Fuel logistics slow the surge. Loading dock capacity creates bottlenecks. Commercial grocery logistics is optimized for normal. In an emergency, it can push 20 to 30% above baseline before compounding failures begin. Missed deliveries, wrong inventory sent to wrong stores, temperature chain failures. It's not a cliff, it's a slow degradation, each small failure making the next one more likely. Hour 18. The math hits home. Imagine sitting in your kitchen at hour 18. Your kids are asking what's for dinner. You open the pantry and see half a box of pasta, some condiments, 3 things in the freezer. That's it. And in that moment, the instinct is to go back to the store, get in line, try again. Sometimes that's right, but sometimes the smarter move is to stop outsourcing your food security entirely and start working with what you actually have. This is where caloric math matters more than almost anything else. An adult in a low-activity emergency needs roughly 1,500 to 1,800 calories per day to function. Not thrive, just function. A 20-pound bag of rice holds roughly 33,000 calories. For one adult, that's 3 weeks of basic survival nutrition. Rice alone is incomplete, but paired with any legume, beans, lentils, chickpeas, it forms a complete protein profile that has sustained entire civilizations for centuries. The gap in most households during a 24-hour emergency isn't the absence of calories. It's the absence of the knowledge and the willingness to use what's already there. Hour 24. The real picture. Stores in the most affected areas are posting notices. Reduced hours, limited inventory, categories unavailable until further notice. The employees still showing up are navigating customer behavior ranging from stoic to hostile. And here's an underreported reality. The staff are also community members. They have families. They have the same fears the shoppers do. The resilience of a grocery store during a crisis depends almost entirely on whether employees feel safe enough to keep showing up. When they don't, and in extended emergencies they eventually don't, the system doesn't slow down. It stops. The people least affected at hour 24 are not the ones who responded fastest to the crisis. They're the ones who made small, quiet decisions over the preceding months that meant the crisis barely registered. Not a bunker, not $10,000 of freeze-dried supplies, just the unglamorous discipline of keeping a rotating 2 to 3 week supply of shelf-stable staples, a few gallons of water per person, and enough basic knowledge to make that supply actually useful. That is the entire gap between the person reading quietly at home and the person in line at a gas station at 2 in the morning. So here's what you do. Not eventually, not when things settle down. This week. Open your pantry and be honest about what you actually have and how many days it would realistically last. Then, quietly, over the next few weeks, close the gap. Rice, lentils, cooking oil, salt, honey. That's not a prepper list. That's a Tuesday. Not out of fear, not because collapse is coming tomorrow, but because a person who isn't desperate in hour 1 makes better decisions in hour 12. And better decisions in hour 12 are the difference between writing it out and becoming part of the problem. The store will restock. It always has. The question has never been whether the system recovers. The question has been whether you needed it to recover faster than it could. And now you know exactly why the answer to that question is decided not in the parking lot at hour 4, but in the quiet, unremarkable moment when you decide to stop assuming that normal is permanent.